Standing here next to the mighty Ohio River in Madison, Indiana, getting ready to embark upon a trip up the Kentucky River with Rockin Thunder jet boat rides. Now, for the last several summers, the navigation to Frankfort, Kentucky has been closed because they're preparing the locks and dams. But this summer, it opened up again, so we're ready to head upstream, and we'd like to take you along with us. You ready? Let's go.
Rockin Thunder Jet Boat Rides is the only jet boat excursion business on the Ohio and the Kentucky rivers. Actually, the only jet boat excursions in the state of Kentucky. My wife and I, Janet, started the business. We have 2 jet boats. One's a New Zealand jet boat, only 15 boats like that in the United States. The other one's a Pacific Northwest style, come out of Oregon.
We have nothing that hangs below the bottom of the boat. We have a grate on the bottom of the boat that the Hamilton jet pump is in that boat. It sucks 3,000 gallons of water a minute up that grate and shoots it out a 6-inch nozzle, and that's what sends us through the water. Maneuverability is so much better.
We do an evening 40-mile scenic trip from Madison. We go up the Ohio River to Carrollton, and then we turn and we go up the Kentucky River to Lock 1. That was built in 1838. We talk a lot about the history, look at wildlife as well. We do that as the sun's starting to set in the evening, just a pretty trip. Then we also are adding a 80-mile dinner trip where we come up the Kentucky River on Sunday evenings, Sunday afternoons, and we'll come up to Blue Wing Landing, have dinner at Blue Wing Landing, and then go back through the 2 locks from the 1830s, and then get back to Madison as the sun's starting to set. Really pretty trip. The ultimate trip that we have is a 155-mile 2-day trip from Madison, Indiana, up the Kentucky River to Frankfort, Kentucky. And it's our favorite trip. It's our riders' favorite trip. We spend the night in Frankfort. Our guests get to tour the Buffalo Trace Bourbon Distillery, enjoy the historic parts of Frankfort, have music in the park, and then we spend the night in Frankfort and then go back down through the 4 locks, down the Kentucky River and back to Madison the next day. Thank you, sir. Be there shortly.
To think that when we pull up into those locks, and those locks were completed in 1838, and they're the same stones that were set there by German immigrants that were hand cut and hand set, just gives me goosebumps. That's an experience that everybody should have. It's to think, you know, they built those locks and dams out of necessity back in the day to get the coal out of the Cumberland Mountains.
About 10 years ago, the Corps of Engineers shut down the locks on the Kentucky River. And what that did, it changed the river from a connector from the Ohio. It turned it into a series of pools, landlocked pools. You couldn't get through it. About 4 years ago, the Kentucky River Authority decided that they were going to spend the money reopening the first 4 locks. All the locks that were built in the 1830s. I think they spent something like $8 million doing that. That turned it into a navigable river again. People from the Ohio River can go all the way up past Frankfort, all the way up to Lock 5. There's a total of 15 locks. Eventually, I think the Kentucky River Authority would like to open them all. It's the locks that people want to experience. Those locks from the 1830s, that's part of that's a major attraction of the river.
Hi, we're here at Blue Wing Landing. I'm with a couple of good friends of mine. I'll say we're old buddies because we actually got a chance today to go do Rockin Thunder down the Kentucky River. We left from Madison, Indiana, and then we cruised all the way down here at Blue Wing and got us a nice lunch. This wasn't your all's first time, was it?
No, we were on the first trip that came through commercially through the locks, and we had so much fun and enjoyed it. And Jan and Paul are just such great hosts and boat drivers and stuff that when the opportunity came up again to take it, because so much time is just the journey is a lot of fun, and with this it's the journey and the destiny. You both of them kick in there and you have a good time.
These guys have been awesome. We've, used them a couple of times, and every time it's just something new. And they'll tell you it'll be a different experience every time. So be prepared, and be prepared to get wet. But it'll be well worth it.
So what we did today, in addition to stopping here at Blue Wing Landing, is we also stopped briefly at the town of Gratz, just a great little community in just below Lock 2. On our long 155-mile two-day trip, we stop at Gratz, stop at the new cafe to see Linda and Earl, have lunch, do a rest stop there. Linda and Earl are just down-home Kentucky hospitality. It's always interesting. They know so much about the history of the river, the history of the area. People enjoy it. It's down-home cooking and something different every stop.
The Kentucky River is beautiful. It's pretty much untouched. Lots of wildlife. Enjoy the people. Enjoy making them laugh. Enjoy giving them another side of nature that they wouldn't have seen.
This is my getting off spot. Built in 1850, this is Blue Wing Landing Inn. And it's now just a part of the tour with Rockin Thunder. We got to see a bald eagle, we got to see a lot of wildlife, as well as some great fellowship. But don't just take my word for it. Go out and experience this for yourself. And now, with the locks and dam all in good shape, you're going to get a chance to see part of the Kentucky River that a lot of folks haven't seen in quite a while.